This is Easdale Island. It's the smallest permanently inhabited island of the Inner Hebrides, off Scotland's west coast. This place was once the centre of the Scottish slate mining industry, and at its peak there were 500 people working the quarries here. Easdale slate helped to build major cities of the British Empire and can still be seen on rooftops as far afield as Melbourne, Nova Scotia, Dunedin and Dublin. The last slate was cut in the 1950s, and by the early 60s the population had dwindled to only 4 people. Today, around 60 people call Easdale Island home, and once a year that number is swelled significantly by those taking part in a very unusual event, one that Transworld Sport was keen to find out more about. Making use of the local slate, Easdale is now home to the Stone Skimming World Championships. The organiser of the annual event is local man Donald Melville.
Like most good things, they start off in a pub, as this one did. It was a bright idea one night in the pub, and a few folk got together, and there happened to be, and it sounds like the start of a bad joke, a Scotsman, an Englishman, an Irishman and a Welshman, and they had the competition the next day in the harbour, in fact, and we've moved it into one of the quarries here and just kind of formalised it and made it a bit more formal, I guess. But it was started by a guy called Bert Baker, and in his honour we have a trophy called the Bertie, which is given to the best local person in the event.
The first stone skimming event was held here in 1983.
The event is held in an old disused quarry. The island is famous for the slate that was taken off it, and the holes that were left when the slate was quarried out have just filled with seawater and rainwater, and it makes the perfect arena because it's shielded on all 4 sides by walls of slate, and we have the perfect sort of natural amphitheatre to have the event in. The stone has got to be naturally formed from slate, and it has to be no more than 3 inches in diameter, and it has to bounce twice, has to hit the water 3 times and sink within a lane, a channel that we make with 2 lanes of buoys.
Oh, this guy is very good. Oh my God.
One of the favourites at this year's event is 70-year-old Welshman Ron Long.
Of the numerous skimming competitions throughout Britain and Europe, this is considered to be the granddaddy of them all. It's the first, the earliest, and probably the best. Here, I was successful in winning the tournament outright 2 years ago, but for the last 6 years I have been what is known as the old tosser. That is, the contestants who's over 60 years of age. So, but it's always good crack here. Excellent company, good competitive environment.
Each competitor has 3 throws, and the longest of those is recorded. Judges are looking for distance rather than bounces. The quarry measures approximately 63 metres in length.
Stone skimming is a marriage of 2 elements. One is power, obviously. You have to be able to project the stone a considerable distance, and the other is technique. The way you impart spin to the stone, which is essential to keep it stable as it's flying through the air, and the angle at which it hits the water. All of these things are interconnected, and each one of them is, as an element, is necessary for the whole procedure. It's quite a technical thing, skimming stones. Or you can just chuck them and be lucky.
Most of the competitors hail from Scotland, but some have travelled here from France, the Netherlands, and even the United States. Scott Geiger made the trip to Easdale from Texas.
Well, I was down at my creek and throwing rocks, and I threw it further than anybody else. I was the only one throwing, but that's beside the point. So then I decided I was ready for the world competition. I've always wanted to compete on the international scene, and this competition is probably most suited to my athletic ability. If the Olympics are in London, you go to London. If the Olympics are in Atlanta, you go to Atlanta. This is the home of the world stone skimming competition. This is the pinnacle of stone skimming competition worldwide.
The 2014 edition attracts 304 entrants, with 160 taking part in the men's competition.
We have a three-stone toss-off.
Dougie Isaacs of Scotland, Paul Crabtree of England and Ron Long enter a toss-off to decide this year's champion. They each have 3 throws, and whoever has the longest cumulative distance wins. Despite the impressive efforts of Ron Long and Paul Crabtree, it's defending champion Dougie Isaacs who emerges triumphant. The Scotsman secures his 6th stone skimming world title.
I come back every year. This is my 11th year. So I'll just keep coming back every year as long as I can skim stones. My granddad taught me when I was about 5, Jim the Skim, and so I've just been doing it down in the river in Blairgowrie ever since. It's the daddy of them all. This is the big one. So yeah, it's the best one to win.
Subscribe now to our YouTube channel for the very best of Trans World Sports.